So I guess we'll do the same thing with the W's. Just like that. That's okay. And let's also make a vector 3 array thing, because we might as well go ahead and do that if we're already here. So we'll have vector array and vector 4 array. We have to name those differently because blueprints. Otherwise we just use overloading. Alright, well, let's see if it compiles. This is an F vector. Oh, it's the same thing here. Oh, and of course, this doesn't have anything else either. Alright, well, we'll just do stupid things because that's all we have available. I don't feel like cracking open and then editing the core template library code for F-vector4s inside of Unreal. That just seems like I'm going to draw the line at editing that. So basically inside of our initialize function, we're going to pass in our texture, we're going to get out our vector4 array, and that's what we're going to use for the rest of this thing. So I need to go verify that it's actually correct and all that. Looks like it might work properly. Alright, so we want... Where is the actual flow field data? It's inside of saved. Alright, so I'm going to make this new flow field data. It's going to be a vector 4. I can't make a fucking vector 4 array? Are you for real? Inside of blueprints, I can't have a vector 4 array. How dumb is that? Like, I can't make one of these things? That makes no sense to me. That's absolute stupidity. That there is not a vector 4 array. All right, fine. I will. Alright, so we initialize the variables. I'm going to snag the actual flow field texture. I'm going to call flow texture into vector 4 array. I'm going to get this is going to be target. Alright, so this is not going to be a public variable, and this is going to be, instead of that, it's going to be in transient. So just a transient piece of data. Alright, so we have like save real flow field data, save storage object, calculated flow field. Like, we've already saved the static flow field texture, so we don't actually need to call this. This is inside of save. Yeah, we don't need that. Let's see if this guy still works. He does not work. Alright, so we want to see what happens when we actually try to load this in here. So our texture is not null. Raw data is not null. But the height. Data sub I, X, Y, Z. Data sub I, so it's 0, -1, 0. Normalized is false. Data sub I W is 25. And then, so data sub I is -0.4. Success is true. So data got initialized. It looks like it's all there. So we'll take this thing, we'll get this guy set up properly, hopefully. It takes a little bit to tick, even though it's so small. Get direction, test object with access none, trying to read actual flow field data. I have to make a new U object. I mean, this is just... I mean, I just want a fucking vector 4 array. Like, why can't I do that? I mean, I really can't make an F vector 4 variable. I don't want an F vector 3 though, because I have extra information. So what I actually have to do is inside of init vars, I actually have to like set actual flow field texture. I have to set actual flow field data to like an actual object. I need to make it. So how do we actually make a new U object here for the flow field data? Well, apparently nobody else has this problem with F-vector 4s and wanting to actually use them inside of Unreal, which is just makes no sense. It's a vector 4. Like, why wouldn't it be available? Like, is it so insane that people will be like, oh no, you know, you can't have 4 dimensions, that's just too much. Obviously you're doing it wrong. So where's the Dashkin storage object? Stop the search. Only search inside of the current project. I need to call spawn object or something? All because I can't have an F-vector 4 array. Well, now it's not moving at all. And of course, we can't put breakpoints inside of interface implemented methods. What is this? CX and CY. So size was a lot bigger than it should have been? Hello, Hojokono. Oh, finally you can speak. What? What's happening? Salt is happening. Oh, I'm just... Yeah, I'm trying to get some... cleaning up some data stuff. Basically, water blueprints are... It's being stupid. The Twitch app was messing up? Yeah, that'll happen. But Twitch would just do that? Have something that breaks? No, never. Map width, map height, map size. Let's just do it like that. It's supposed to be that way. Which was crafted from the finest unobtainium. It's true. Well, I'm sure we will have stuff where people can test the game. But I've got to fix things first. You know, we actually have something to play. That'd be one part of it. You need to have an actual game before you can play it. That was actually one of the funny things. Like, we did a presentation to people at Amazon, me and this guy I worked with, and like the entire presentation was just like one sentence. It was like, I want to play a game with my friends, and literally I was like, okay, so how do we do this? Well, this sentence is like, you have to make the game. That's a pretty hard part right there. So yeah, then we have to actually have friends and like keep like, you know, a friends list and figure out all this other crap around that, and then like play a game with them. Well, we need to find them and have a server that relays information, and we need messages. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get it so that we're actually cracking open the right stuff for these, for this water, so I can have the flow field data actually cook properly in it. And right now that's not working. That guy is up there, he's making particles, he's not doing anything with it. Okay, for some reason these breakpoints are now actually working. Alright, X and Y are these values. Variable not in scope. How come we don't get our X, Y, and our Z? It's a zero vector? And the speed was also zero? So our actual flow field data vectors were nothing. Well, that's actually probably true. We did have a warning. Which was... Look how it disappears. Set up map basic info, unable to read in flow field texture for water object. Alright, so that's probably where our issue is coming in. Sorry, I'm not looking at chat here for a second, but I'm just concentrating on stuff. Yeah, all the infrastructure you have to make for friends and like in games and all that stuff. It's kind of ridiculous. Well, we're basically just trying to explain like a basic, instance server architecture. Like if you're playing a game of Halo or something like that, what it actually takes to build that. Like you need a server to log in. You need to have people that you've played with. You need to have the matchmaking stuff so you can actually enter matchmaking. You need to be able to send messages to your friend to be like, hey dude, like we're going into, what type of game do you want to play? And then we need to send messages like you have entered matchmaking so that, the UI can pop up and say you are in matchmaking, estimated time like, 10 seconds or something. Why do you have to explain this? No. And how all this stuff needs to happen fast. Like a lot of the guys at Amazon, right? They're working in like web page speed, right? Where if your web page doesn't load for a second, that's not the worst thing ever. If your web page doesn't load in 15 seconds or, like less than 5, then it's a horrible thing. But in games, it's, milliseconds. If you can feel lag, and stuff like that, if you hit like a friend request and it takes more than a second to process, like people get pissed off, things don't work. Like the latency requirements are basically speed of light plus 1 millisecond. If you can't get the message executed and passed in that amount of time, like you're not doing it right with games. So a lot of stuff like that. So load texture into color array for this thing is not working. So it's going to be this guy here, I believe, is this distance thing has no bitmaps. This has no bitmaps. No bitmaps. This has from texture group on it. Okay, so our flow field did not get generated for this thing. Why not? Their coin system stinks. Is that like the Amazon coins for like Amazon games and all that sort of stuff? Trying to get this thing working. What is... Something must be busted. Because this thing is still from texture group. So it's where we're saving our real flow field texture is trash. Alright, so that's inside of that generate button. Generate flow field. Get map basic info. Calculate everything. Save texture asset. Static R flow field. Disable MIPS needs to be true. I was like, did that just crash? I'm gonna be pretty upset if that just crashed. Alright, let's recalculate this piece of trash. Well, I know a lot of the, I don't know, Amazon coins and all that, I don't know. I haven't really been too involved in the Amazon stuff. I know there was a lot more, you know, like the Fire Phone and all that sort of stuff. There was supposed to be a lot more going into mobile around Amazon, but the Fire Phone, that went real well. So, you know how that goes. Or you might not. You might not even know what the Fire Phone is. Don't, it's trash. Unless you like Crossy Roads. I think that was the joke when the Echo came out. Was like, oh man, they finally figured out what to do with all the Fire Phones that they couldn't sell. They just slapped them in a little plastic trash can, and there you go, it's the Amazon Alexa. Alright, no more Warn Log at least. Let's see if our little fat dude floats down the river. Is he moving at all? Doesn't really look like it. I mean, it looks like he's moving really slowly. Looks like he's just peeing in the river or something. And what is going on with that particle stuff there, where we're seeing some flickering in that texture every so often? It's like when we're trying to render to it, it can't actually render it. It's like failing. I'll have to look into that, because the data's not gone. But it's something else. Alright, so what is going on with this get direction and speed stuff? Is the speed not fast enough? Were we multiplying our speed beforehand by 255 and having a bad time with it? Let's see, I need to open up the other object. The backstroking backsacks. Yeah, they're pretty cool. So I'm looking for the test floating dude. Alright, so we got the direction, we got the speed, we're multiplying the speed by 1,000, so... So let's see, it's supposed to fall down. Why aren't we printing stuff out? Because reasons. I hate how this thing is inconsistent with how it works. With you hit control to like drag something and it doesn't always drag it properly. So you end up like trying to drag some node over and you lose it. Alright, so the speeds are just super slow. Like going into this at speed 7.4. So we have delta t times blah. Let's see what speed we're getting off of the... We're getting off of the flow field direction. We're getting 0.5 off of it. Oh, the Twitch merger. I don't know, Amazon Prime Video is pretty sweet. And when I was in Seattle, Amazon Prime Now is freaking really, really awesome. I don't know, I think the cool thing about like buying something, like if you're gonna buy like a video or something off of Amazon Prime Video or whatever, or Amazon Video, like you know it's gonna be around there forever. Like it's not just gonna, service isn't just gonna stop existing at some point. Yeah, and like Amazon lockers and all that, that's pretty awesome too. So let's see, get direction and speed. We're getting our speed out of this thing, but what we actually need to do is multiply this speed by our maximum speed, because it's supposed to be from 0 to 1 as far as I remember. It's graphics utils. Yeah, we're getting like 0.5 on it, so obviously what should be going on is we're multiplying this by our actual speed, and we weren't doing this properly beforehand. So where is our actual speed? It's like inside a generate flow field. Magnitude fill, random water speed, shore water speed, particle flow weight. Where is it? Where did I put this thing? I guess it's max water speed? Get max water speed? Max flow field speed, which is in saved. Okay, so that's where we need to snag this. Alright, so it's supposed to look like that. And that's why our little dudes are not moving very quickly at all. So we're going in the negative x direction. Test actual flow field. Alright, so this should be... Do I just have like the wrong direction going on here? So let's think about this color. The vector direction, maybe I just got the vector direction mixed up. Maybe it's backwards? I mean, theoretically, no, it's not backwards. Maybe the magnitudes are backwards? Like, this guy is supposed to go in the negative x direction, so that's in this direction at speed blah. Why is his speed negative, though? Like, it's supposed to go this direction and then this direction, which that should be correct. Speed is just super damn slow, though. The speed should never be negative, should it? And that's probably what's screwing us up here, is this data W. So I should go to my data, the map utils, and look at... Yeah, it just picks magnitude divided by 255, so all we should be doing for this guy is just this divide equal. So we'll save everything and compile this out. Tell that W to stop being so positive? No, it's the opposite. I need to tell it to be less negative. What, moved to Korea? What, South Korea and Japan have like the best internets? Alright, let's see what this little furry bastard does. Alright, that's looking like he's doing what he's supposed to. I just love the guys that get sucked off the back. We only have a certain number of particles for these splashes they're doing, so They're just gonna be doing their thing. They have a little bit of random wiggle. See, if I try to snag this, I can't do it. It grabs it from the wrong goddamn side. Alright, let's make sure that that cleaned up our logs. Yeah, exactly. Goodbye, fat sack. They just get sucked behind it. Goodbye, you little bastard. Meow. It's like a little motorboat going down the river. Just falls off the back like a fucking chump. That's great. Is there a missing triangle behind the rock that's supposed to be there? Oh yeah, like this thing over here, like this guy's probably got like the wrong collision on him or some crap. So there's all sorts of stuff that's not set up properly on this. It's like we got our flow field here. We check out our distance map. I mean, not our distance map, but our height map. Like supposedly there's some stuff here, but like there's some flow stuff here that is pushing it out the back. So the idea is you can totally get stuck in behind a waterfall because there's just more water coming in. But there's no collision back here on these rocks. These like little floating dudes aren't doing it, so they're not like getting jostled around and crap. They're just falling through nothing because they're not checking collision, because the little floating guys are just trash. They don't have any real logic on them. So like they don't even check stuff. They're just following the flow field. So the flow field is telling them to fall off the edge of the world, and that's fine with me. Alright, I want to check to make sure that this stuff works in a shipping build with cracking open the textures. So I need to disconnect my debugger so I can cook that one. Alright. Well, there's a lot of stuff there. Like, there's no momentum on them, so when they fall off the waterfall up here, like, the waterfall is not straight up and down. Like, it looks like that. So they fall behind the waterfall when they should, like, fall off the waterfall and get in front of it, in which case the flow field would move them forward. Stuff like that. So the only way you get stuck behind a waterfall is if, like, somehow you are already back there. And I'm not really too worried about it. And we're just waiting for this build to go off. Looks like Dashkin map utils 1550. There's a warning. Definition of eye is getting hidden. Ah, yes, because I changed around some of this code here with this thing at the start. Let's just change it to index, and that should do it. We render the whole area instead of chunks. Well, the whole area, like, we're still at the point where we're getting the visual look for the game. We haven't actually built the system that's going to like procedurally create parts of levels for like whatever and all that. So we're not at that point yet. We got to know what we're kind of making before we can kind of start making the system that'll manage it. So we're not there yet. And Unreal 4 also deals with a lot of that crap for us, so we don't really have to worry about that. And Adam's already made super awesome waterfall stuff, but we just haven't merged it in for everything. So let's test that shipping build. Looks like his random wiggle let him go over to the side of this thing. Then he gets sucked out. This looks like all that's working in a shipping build, except for that guy who got stuck up there because he landed on a rock instead of landing on the water. He needs to work on his aim. You really want this as a screensaver? Just a whole bunch of bad sacks that are falling and then getting swept away in the current. It's true. It's true. We'll have that. Alright, so that does work, which is excellent. How goes the flowing of the ducks? Yeah, the ducks are flowing and they're working well. We got our dynamic ripples in there. So that's like a ripple that I created. You can see it follows the flow field and everything. It reflects off the shore and interferes with itself and all that stuff. So we got that all working properly today. And I can increase the number of particles. Right now I'm only allowing 10,000 on there, but I've tested it up to like 60,000 or whatever. But it's parameterizable, so we can do whatever with that later. So I'm trying to get stuff. Yeah, it's looking better. Yeah, Brackenwood Water Park. I mean, that's pretty much what the world of Brackenwood is. It's just a giant water park. Just, you know, but you could die. So I need to keep cleaning stuff up here, so I need to get rid of all the vector force storage objects on these things for this water. What we've got is we're saving this static data in these storage objects here, and these storage objects are just really big. They're like 4 megs, and the data is already inside the texture, and the texture's getting saved at like 200K or something. Are we using this at all? Alright, so save flow field data, save height map data, and save distance data. Yeah, those are all trash. So we want to delete these functions. Alright, so it looks like we got all that ripped out. Let's go make sure it actually is ripped out. Let's delete all this. Replace references with none. You can die in normal water parks. So yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Was like, well, I guess you could die anyway. Like, water parks aren't necessarily known for being super safe. And I'm gonna move this test water ripples thing. It was only useful for testing in the texture. I'm gonna move it over out of here. So hopefully what we should be able to do is get rid of all this trash. And then the next thing I need to do is I need to make the generation for the water be just a single button, as opposed to this like ridiculous series of button presses you have to do to actually get it to work. So let's make sure it's still running as it should. Alright, looks like it's still doing that. Let's make sure our generation code works.